Some nights the world feels dim inside the heart. Even when the room is full of light, thoughts drift back over the day, over words that felt too small, over moments when kindness could have shone brighter. There is a quiet ache, a wondering if the light within has grown faint, if the glow that once felt warm and steady has thinned into embers at the edge of the soul. There are evenings when the heart remembers mistakes more quickly than mercies, when the mind replays awkward conversations, missed chances, small failures, and the question rises like a sigh: is there still light in this life? Or has it been hidden away under fear and weariness? In this gentle night, this story settles beside one listening heart, like a lantern set quietly on a table, a soft reminder that even the smallest flame still pushes back the dark. Take a slow, deep breath. Let the air move in like a tide, and drift out again. Let the shoulders soften. Let the jaw loosen. Let the hands rest in a place that feels easy and safe. Notice any tightness in the chest, and allow it to melt just a little, like wax near a steady candle flame. Let the noise of the day begin to fade, worries and lists sliding to the edges of the room, as if the Father is gently closing the door on everything that can wait until morning. If these stories bring you peace, take a moment to like this video, subscribe for more nightly reflections, and share where you're listening from tonight. Your words and presence help keep this space warm and growing. Now, take another slow breath. Let's begin. Night has settled over a quiet hillside, the air cool and clear, the sky stretched wide and deep above a simple land of paths and homes and wandering flocks. Far below, a village rests in the blue hush of evening, doorways glowing with small fires, windows breathing out lines of gold onto the dark earth, like little streams of light flowing into the night. On the slope above, a teacher once sat with his friends gathered close, the grass bending softly under their weight, the breeze moving through their clothes like a tender hand. He looked out over the valleys and ridges, over the scattered lights of homes and small towns, and he spoke of light, not just the flames in clay lamps, but the light that lives within human lives. He spoke of a city on a hill, a place raised above the fields and roads, where every lamp in every window, every small fire in every courtyard, joined together in one great glow, a brightness that no traveler could miss in the darkness, a sign of life and warmth and welcome that could not be hidden, no matter how heavy the night around it became. He spoke of a lamp inside a home, lit with care, its flame cradled by oil and wick, a light meant to guide bare feet across stone floors, to soften the faces gathered around a simple meal, to push shadows into corners so no one stumbles. No one lights such a lamp, he said, only to tuck it beneath a bowl, or hide it beneath a bed. Instead, it is lifted. It is placed where it can be seen, where it can share its gentle brightness with every soul in the room. So it is with a life that carries goodness, mercy, kindness, a quiet faith. These are not given to stay buried inside. They are given like fire passed from the heart of God to a waiting wick, meant to shine in small and ordinary ways, in simple words, in patient listening, in hands that serve, that welcome, that comfort. As the story of this night unfolds, the promise at its center glows softly. The one listening is not forgotten, not overlooked, not drifting unseen in a vast and indifferent dark. The light of the Father has already been spoken over this life, a gentle declaration that this heart matters, that this presence in the world is not an accident, but a chosen place where His goodness can be seen. There is no expectation of perfection in this light. Lamps flicker, oil runs low, winds rise, yet the source remains, steady and unbroken, pouring fresh light into weary souls, meeting trembling courage with quiet strength, meeting hidden shame with mercy that does not turn away. Take another slow breath, in through the nose, letting the lungs feel like a calm sea rising, then out through the mouth, easing every muscle a little further into rest. Let the spine find a comfortable curve. Allow the head to rest heavy on pillow or cushion. Imagine that with each exhale, the weight of the day leaves little by little, sinking into the gentle hands of God, who does not ask for more effort tonight, only for trust. Rest is not a prize that must be earned, not something granted only when enough has been done. Tonight, rest arrives as a gift, offered freely to a tired heart that has tried, that has carried light even when it felt small, that has walked through its own shadows and still longed to be kind. In this quiet beginning, one truth glimmers like a candle in the window of the soul. The Father sees the light that remains, even when the one who carries it feels dim. He sees every small act of goodness no one thanked, every silent prayer spoken in the dark, every effort to choose gentleness instead of anger, patience instead of bitterness, hope instead of despair. In His gaze, this life is not a forgotten corner, but a lamp He treasures, a warm glow He delights to kindle again and again. Breathe slowly, gently, letting the heart grow just a little softer, a little more open to the warmth that waits in the rest of this story. A warmth that does not demand, but simply welcomes. The hillside where the teacher once sat grows quieter as the night deepens. The breeze soft, the earth cooling beneath the stars, and the memory of his words lingers like a soft ember in the air. Those who listened that evening carried many burdens. Worries about tomorrow's work, fears about providing for their families, private questions they rarely spoke aloud. Yet as the teacher spoke of light, something within them stirred. something gentle, something brave. A reminder that even ordinary lives, with ordinary struggles, hold a spark placed there by God Himself. In the fading glow of dusk, the scene unfolds slowly, like a lantern brightening in a room that has grown dim. The teacher's voice did not rise loudly. It flowed softly over the hillside, steady as flowing water, tender as the hush that settles over a home when the last chore is done, and rest begins to feel near. He looked at fishermen with rough hands, mothers with tired eyes, young men uncertain of their future, elders who carried regrets as quietly as folded garments. And he said something that none expected, words that would echo across centuries, reaching even this quiet night as the story is retold. He said they were the light of the world, not that they might become light someday, not that they must earn it through greatness or flawless goodness, but that they already were, already carried a glow entrusted to them by a Father who wastes nothing, not even the smallest spark in a trembling soul. A small lamp burns near them in the home below, its flame swaying gently with each shift of the breeze. And the beauty of it reveals a truth the teacher knew they would understand. A lamp does not choose how bright it will burn. It simply receives the oil given to it. It simply remains present, steady, open to the flame placed upon its wick. So too the heart that longs to shine, not by force, not by striving, but by surrendering to the one who tends the flame. The teacher's message was not a demand. It was a blessing, a declaration spoken into lives that felt far too small to carry anything of value. Yet here on this quiet night, the glow from each small home below gathers into a soft golden spread across the valley, and the truth becomes visible. No single lamp lights the hillside, but all of them together push back the darkness, each flame adding warmth to the next, each one strengthening the whole. One of the listeners that day, a young woman who rarely spoke, held her shawl close around her shoulders, wondering how her small acts could ever be called light. She tended to her aging mother. She mended torn garments. She left little pieces of bread at the doorstep of a neighbor who had fallen on hard times. Nothing she did felt grand. Nothing felt worthy of the words spoken that evening. Yet the teacher looked at people like her when he spoke. He saw beyond the surface of their lives, beyond the exhaustion, beyond the unspoken insecurities. And he saw the quiet glow each carried, the kind that does not seek to impress, the kind that warms without demanding attention. The story lingers with her for a moment, her life woven gently into the message, illustrating a truth that reaches into the heart of anyone who listens tonight. Light is not measured in brilliance or achievement. Light is measured in presence, in compassion, in a willingness to keep shining even when the world feels cold. The hillside dims further as stars bloom across the sky. Small, steady, unhurried, each one a tiny echo of the same truth. Many small lights create a beauty the dark cannot swallow. Many small acts of mercy form a glow that touches lives in ways unseen, uncounted, yet deeply felt. Breathe gently, letting the rhythm of the night settle around you. A soft reminder that you too have carried light in ways you may have forgotten. In quiet gestures that seemed insignificant. In moments of restraint when anger could have spoken more loudly. In silent prayers whispered for someone else. In patience offered when it cost something inside. These are the lamps set upon the table of life. Small perhaps, but seen by God. Cherished by Him. Gathered into a radiance the world rarely recognizes but heaven never overlooks. Let the breath move in slowly, cool and steady, then drift out like a tide easing away from the shore. Let the ribs soften, let the shoulders release, let the heart settle into the truth that unfolds through this story. A truth as old as that hillside, as steady as the flame in a clay lamp. You are not without light. Even on the days when you feel dim, the spark remains, and the source remains near. The teacher did not speak these words to the confident or the powerful alone. He spoke them to the ordinary. To those who doubted themselves, to those who felt unseen, to those who believed their lives carried little meaning. And he spoke them again tonight. Through this retelling, through this gentle weaving of scripture and rest, a whisper that reaches through time and touches the heart listening now. Let the breath slow. Let the heart grow warm. Let the light within rest without striving, without comparing, without pressure. Simply held, simply present, like a lamp glowing quietly against the darkened world. The night deepens over the hillside, settling into a quiet so soft it feels like a blanket drawn gently over the earth. And the memory of the teacher's words continues to glow like a slow ember in the heart. Below, the village lamps shimmer as small points of gold. Scattered fireflies resting in clay bowls. Each one steady. Each one offering its own little comfort to the darkness. The valley feels alive with quiet warmth, reminding the watching soul that light does not shout. It simply shines. Calm, faithful, unwavering. The teacher had spoken earlier of lamps lifted high. And as the scene breathes before the mind, another truth unfolds. A truth woven into the very shape of a flame. A flame does not rush. It does not worry. It dances with a gentle confidence, knowing its small glow still pushes back the dark around it. Even the tiniest spark, even a single flicker, deepens the beauty of a night otherwise swallowed in shadow. And in this, the Father offers a silent teaching. Light does not need to be large to be meaningful. It only needs to be present. A memory rises, perhaps from someone who listened that day. Someone who once carried a lamp through the narrow stone paths of the town after sunset. The lamp was simple, chipped on one side, its oil not quite full. And yet, as it was carried through dim alleyways, small shapes began to appear. The outline of a doorway, the curve of a sleeping animal, a child's forgotten basket resting against a wall. The pale gold glow revealed what the darkness had swallowed, showing the path, making each step less uncertain. So too with the heart that carries God's light. With every gentle action, every soft word, every moment of compassion, the world around it grows a little clearer, a little safer, a little warmer. The story moves deeper now, drawing the listener into the quiet wonder of how light transforms everything it touches. A face once hidden in shadow becomes visible. A path once feared becomes navigable. A moment once cold becomes tender. Light is revelation, not in the grand sense of thunder or miracles, but in the simple unveiling of truth, goodness, and presence. And this is why the teacher spoke so softly yet so certainly, reminding each soul that the light within them carries the Father's own heart, revealing Him through kindness, patience, gentleness, and mercy. A flicker of wind sweeps across the hillside, and the grass sways in long, slow breaths, the sky stretching wider as stars shift their shimmering patterns. The listening heart can almost feel the coolness of that ancient night, the peace of being gathered with others, each one uncertain yet drawn to the warmth of the words spoken over them. Among them sat a man who often struggled with anger, his temper quick to rise when he felt embarrassed or misunderstood. He had always believed this flaw disqualified him from anything holy, anything worthy, anything light-filled. Yet when the teacher spoke, he felt something soften in his chest, as if a hand had rested there gently, not condemning, simply reminding him that even a flawed vessel can carry light. Even cracked clay glows beautifully when fire rests inside it. The story lingers with him for a moment, offering a quiet truth to the one listening now. The Father does not wait for perfection before lighting a life. He knows the cracks, the uneven edges, the shadows still healing, and He chooses to shine through them anyway, sometimes because of them, letting the light spill out through places once broken. This kind of light is not about impressing the world. It is about warming it, guiding it, comforting it, being a presence of steady goodness even when the heart itself feels uncertain. Take a slow breath. Let it drift in like evening tide. Then release it in a long silent exhale, letting the muscles melt a bit deeper, letting the mind soften into stillness. Imagine a small lamp set on the windowsill of your own life, its flame quiet, gentle, unwavering. Imagine its glow touching the faces of those you have loved, illuminating moments when you extended kindness without knowing how deeply it mattered, revealing scenes where you chose mercy even when no one acknowledged it, showing times when you softened instead of hardening. when you waited instead of reacting, when you forgave even in your own tiredness. These are lamps set high, these are acts of light, these are ways your life has already shone in the world. The teacher's words echo across the hillside once more, almost like a whisper drifting through time, reminding every listening soul that they do not need to force the glow within them. They need only to allow it, to remain open, to keep lifting their lamp to simple places where love is needed, where warmth is missing, where someone else's night feels too heavy. This is the awakening of the theme, the gentle truth that begins to rise like dawn within the heart. You are not without light, and the light you carry is not small in the eyes of God. Let the breath slow. Let the edges of the mind relax. Let the heart begin to settle into a deeper stillness, warmed by the knowledge that even in the dimness of night, the Father watches every flicker, every quiet glow, every small flame offered from a life that longs to do good. The night settles more deeply over the hillside, as though the sky itself is drawing a soft curtain around the quiet gathering of hearts. The faint glow of distant lamps continues to shimmer across the valley, each small flame steady against the dark, and the story moves gently into a deeper truth, the truth of how light changes a home, a life, a world. In the memory of that evening, the teacher's voice carried an image so simple, yet so quietly powerful. The image of a lamp placed high in a home. A lamp in that ancient world was more than a source of brightness. It was a companion through the dark hours, a guide through narrow halls, a guardian against stumbling, a warm presence that softened every corner it touched. When a lamp was lifted, shadows bent away, and gentle light flowed into places where eyes strained moments before. The rough texture of a wall became visible. The grain of a wooden table appeared. The contours of familiar faces emerged with tenderness, lines softened by the warm glow. It was in that warmth that families rested, that conversations quieted, that fear eased, and the world felt a little safer, simply because light had entered. The teacher chose this imagery with care, knowing that every person who listened had seen such a moment, had felt the comfort of a small flame raised above the room. And he linked that image to the heart, to the soul's capacity to bring warmth to others. A life lifted, even just a little, can soften the world around it. Words spoken gently can calm a weary spirit. A compassionate glance can steady a trembling heart. A moment of patience can ease the tension in a room. And a simple act of kindness can turn a cold night into a place where someone feels seen and safe. This is how a lamp changes a home. Not by overpowering the darkness with brilliance, but by being faithfully present, steadily glowing, refusing to hide. The scene on the hillside expands, as if the memory itself leans closer, revealing more of the people who sat there, listening to the teacher's voice in the growing dusk. A young boy sits near the edge, leaning lightly against his father's arm. His family is poor. Their home lit by only one small lamp each night. But he remembers something. A moment when their lamp fell and nearly went out. His mother caught it with quick hands, steadied the flame, shielded it from the cold wind that swept in through the door. And the boy saw how her gentle protection saved the light from dying. He remembers now how that moment filled their small home with a sense of safety. How he felt her love not in words, but in the warmth of the rescued flame. The teacher's words reach him again in memory, and they carry a message that settles into the heart of this story. Sometimes being the light of the world does not mean shining brightly, but protecting what is fragile, tending what flickers, guarding what almost goes out. Light is not always confidence. Sometimes it is compassion, the kind that bends down to shield a trembling flame, the kind that sees fragility not as failure but as something sacred to protect. The story drifts softly deeper, and another listener comes into focus. An older man who had lived with regret for many years. He often replayed past missteps, harsh words he wished he could take back, opportunities he let slip away. He believed his light had dimmed too much to matter. That age and guilt had quietly smothered the flame within him. But as he sat near the teacher that night, he remembered something from long ago. He once worked as a caretaker in a large home, and each evening his task was to lift the lamps high on their stands, so their glow would spread evenly across the room. Some nights the lamps burned poorly, the oil low, the wick imperfect, and yet when raised, even those small and troubled flames offered enough light to soften the darkness. And as he listened to the teacher speak, he realized something gently stunning. Even the imperfect lamps still shone when lifted. Even the ones that flickered could still guide, still comfort, still be used. The story offers this image as a tender truth to the listening heart. Your light does not need to be flawless to matter. It does not need to be strong to be lifted. The Father lifts even the trembling soul, even the weary spirit, even the cracked vessel. And in His hands, what feels small becomes enough. Breathe slowly, letting that truth settle like warm light across the chest. Inhale with ease, letting the air fill the spaces that were tight. Exhale softly, allowing any self-judgment to loosen. Fall away. Drift into the night where it cannot harm you. Imagine now a lamp being lifted within the home of your own life, raised gently by the hands of a God who sees beauty where you see insufficiency, who sees purpose where you see imperfection, who sees light where you feel dim. The glow spreads outward, brushing against memories where you chose kindness, illuminating moments where you forgave, revealing places where compassion shaped your choices even when it was difficult, showing the quiet truth that your presence has mattered more than you know. There is a strength in gentleness, a power in quiet goodness, a radiance in small acts of love that shine far beyond the moment they were given. This is the heart of the teacher's message. The soft awakening now rising in this story. You have been given a light. You have already offered it. And heaven has seen every glow. Let the breath deepen. Let the shoulders release. Let the heart soften into this widening warmth. The night around the hillside grows still. Yet the light within grows steady, certain, quietly radiant. The night stretches out across the hillside like a vast, peaceful, velvet canopy, silent except for the soft whisper of wind gliding over the grass and the gentle hum of distant life in the valley below. The lamps of the village shimmer like a constellation brought down to earth, dozens of small flames glowing in steady quietness, forming a tender tapestry of gold woven into the darkness. And as the story deepens, the image the teacher offered, a city on a hill, rises in the mind like a vision carried gently by the night air. The teacher spoke of a city lifted high above the land, a place whose lights could be seen from far away, not because the fires were extraordinary, but because elevation made their glow impossible to ignore. Each household's lamp, each courtyard flame, each candle burning behind a simple window, worked together to create something larger, warmer, more visible than any single light could have ever achieved alone. Travelers crossing long and lonely roads watched for these hilltop glows, for they meant safety, shelter, guidance. They meant the long journey through darkness was nearly over, and rest was close enough to breathe into weary lungs. In this moment, the story turns gently toward the listening heart, inviting it to feel the beauty of that truth in its own life. For there is something sacred in the way light multiplies when shared, something holy in the way goodness grows when lives come together, something deeply comforting in the thought that no light exists in isolation. Every small flame, every tiny act of compassion, every quiet moment of mercy, becomes part of something bigger when joined with others. A soft memory is carried into the narrative, perhaps from someone who once lived near such a hilltop town. He recalls walking along the rocky path at twilight, the sun slipping behind the ridge, shadows lengthening until the world became shapes and silence. At first, the path felt uncertain, each stone threatening to twist his foot, each turn unfamiliar. But then, a glow appeared far ahead, faint at first, then clearer, brighter, warmer. It was the city on the hill, its many fires glowing as one, and suddenly, the fear within him eased, the worry loosened, the loneliness softened, for even from a distance, the light told him he was not abandoned, not lost, not forgotten. This memory drifts into the heart of the teaching, the truth the teacher wanted each listener to receive. A single life carrying God's goodness becomes a small glow, but many lives together, many hearts aligned with love, many hands choosing mercy, form something radiant, powerful, unmistakable. It is not brilliance that makes the city shine, but unity, not perfection, but presence, not force, but faithfulness. The story lingers with this image, letting it unfold in slow, gentle waves. Imagine standing far from that hilltop city, weary from travel, bruised by the day, uncertain of your way, and then seeing the glow rise above the rocks, gold against the deep blue of night, a signal of warmth, a promise of welcome, a quiet voice saying, "Come, you are near home." In this way, the teacher's message becomes more than metaphor. It becomes a blessing spoken over the one listening now, for your life, even with all its questions, its tired moments, its worries, its hesitations, contributes to a greater glow. Your kindness joins the kindness of others. Your patience joins their patience. Your mercy joins their mercy. And together, all these small lights become a radiant offering to the world. The story draws closer to you now, gently revealing the quiet truth that perhaps you have underestimated your own glow. Perhaps you have forgotten how your life adds warmth to others. But the Father has not forgotten. He sees the city your light is part of. He sees how your glow helps someone else trust the path, how your gentleness softens a hard moment, how your presence eases someone's loneliness, how your small flame, joined with many others, becomes a beacon of hope in places you may never know. Take a slow, deep breath, letting the air fill the lungs like a soft rising tide. Then exhale, letting the body sink deeper into rest, allowing the truth of this image to warm the chest, the shoulders, the quiet spaces of the mind. Your light is not isolated. It belongs. It matters. It joins 1,000 other small flames to create a glow heaven delights in, a glow the world needs, a glow God Himself tends with tenderness. The hillside grows still again, stars above, lamps below, and somewhere between them, the heart listening now finds its place, part of the gentle radiance the teacher spoke of, part of a city that cannot be hidden, even when individual flames feel faint. Let the breath soften, let the mind ease into the warmth of this truth. Let the night gather around you like a shelter, safe, calm, illuminated by a light that has never left you. The night deepens until it feels like a soft, endless, velvet sky settling gently over the hillside, and the air carries a cool stillness that invites reflection, the kind that rises quietly when everything around grows hushed. Below, the village continues to glow, but now the lamps feel smaller, fainter, as the darkness thickens, and into this tender quiet, the story turns toward a deeper truth, one that rests in the shadows, one the teacher understood intimately, the truth that even those who shine carry fears, burdens, and hidden places where their own light feels fragile. On that ancient hillside, as the teacher spoke of light and cities and lamps lifted high, many hearts listened with a secret trembling, because some believed they had no light at all, some felt too broken, too flawed, too inconsistent, too weary. Some carried shame like a cloak, memories of choices they wished they could undo. Some felt overshadowed by others whose goodness seemed brighter, and some simply felt lost, as if the flame within them had been smothered by disappointment or sorrow. This part of the story begins in that space, in the quiet corners where the heart whispers, "I do not shine, not really, not enough." Where the soul hides, worried that its glow is too small, too unsteady, too dim to matter. The teacher knew these shadows well. He saw them in the eyes of those gathered around him, saw the heavy weight carried beneath their silence, and he spoke not to condemn their shadows, but to gently reveal them, so his words could reach the hidden places where light had grown thin. A memory rises from the hillside, one that softens into clarity as the night drapes itself deeper across the land. A man sits at the edge of the crowd, his arms wrapped around his knees, his gaze turned downward, afraid to meet the teacher's eyes. He once led others with confidence, once felt certain of his goodness, once believed he was strong and steady, but life had humbled him, mistakes had wounded him, grief had stolen much of the fire he once carried. Now, he feared he had become only a shadow of who he hoped to be. He felt invisible in the crowd, unworthy of being called light in any sense. Yet the teacher's words reached him like warm breath against chilled hands. The words did not expose his failures. They did not shame his hidden struggles. They simply told him something he had forgotten, that light does not stop being light when obscured by sorrow. It does not vanish when the heart trembles. It does not disappear because of wounds or weariness. A lamp covered is still a lamp. A flame smothered is still a flame waiting to breathe. This truth settles into the heart of the story now. Even the shadows within a person do not erase their God-given glow. Sometimes the shadow is not a sign of failure, but simply a season, a heavy moment, a quiet struggle that needs tenderness instead of judgment. The night on the hillside continues to unfold, and the story moves to another listener, a woman who had always compared herself to others, always feeling less, always fearing her small acts of goodness were barely noticeable. She carried a hidden ache, a belief that her light was too faint, too insignificant to matter, but she remembered something from her childhood. Her mother lighting a lamp when storms came. The lamp was tiny, barely brighter than the lightning that flashed outside. Yet she remembered how that little flame brought calm to the room, how its steady glow held their fear at bay, how something so small could keep the storm from feeling overwhelming. This memory becomes a whisper in the story, a soft reminder to the heart listening now. Small does not mean weak. Faint does not mean useless. Quiet does not mean unimportant. Light is measured not in brilliance, but in comfort, presence, warmth, and the gentle courage to keep shining even when the night feels heavy. Breathe slowly, letting the air move in and soften the ribs, then drift out, melting tension from the shoulders. Feel the body growing heavier, grounded, safe, as this truth settles deeper. There are shadows in every life, places where the heart has been bruised, moments where the inner flame flickers, yet the presence of shadow does not diminish the worth of the soul. For even Jesus spoke his blessing into imperfect lives, into hesitant hearts, into people who doubted themselves quietly in the dark. Let the breath deepen, calm and unhurried. Let the mind rest in the truth that the Father sees every hidden place, tenderly, not with disappointment. He sees the wounds, the regrets, the places where confidence falters, and he calls none of it disqualifying. He calls you light, even when you feel dim. He calls you chosen, even when you feel unsure. He calls you beloved, even when you feel small. The hillside remains dark, but the truth grows brighter. Shadows are part of the journey, not signs of failure. And even in the shadowed places, light still lives, waiting to breathe, waiting to rise again. Let that truth hold you gently. Let it warm the spaces within that felt unseen. Let it settle like a soft glow behind the ribs, a quiet presence that says, "You are still light, even here, even now." The night on the hillside grows deeper, quieter, more intimate, as though the darkness itself is leaning close, listening, holding the space where hidden fears and silent burdens begin to rise from the depths of the heart. It is in this gentle darkness that the next layer of the story unfolds, the truth about covered lamps, the delicate places within a soul where light is tucked away, not lost, but hidden, sometimes out of fear, sometimes out of exhaustion, sometimes simply because the heart has forgotten how brightly it once shone. The teacher spoke of a lamp placed under a bowl, covered, concealed, prevented from giving the warmth it was created to offer, and those words touched something deep in many who listened, because all of them, in one way or another, had hidden their own light before, some because the world had been unkind, some because criticism had wounded them, some because disappointment had dampened their confidence, some because their goodness felt too small to show, some because shining had once cost them something, emotionally, spiritually, socially, and so they kept their glow tucked beneath caution, self-protection, doubt, or quiet fear. This part of the story leans gently into that truth, speaking to the places where the soul steps back from its own light, not in judgment, but in tender understanding. For the teacher never shamed the people for hiding. He simply named the pattern, gently revealing how often hearts dim themselves not because they lack light, but because they fear what shining might bring. A memory emerges through the quiet, soft and clear. A woman sits in her small home before dawn, tending the morning lamp, the flame tiny but steady. She remembers the years when she used to sing, her voice carrying warmth through courtyards and gatherings. But over time, harsh comments chipped away at her confidence. People mocked her voice, or dismissed it, and slowly, she stopped singing, not because the song disappeared, but because she placed a bowl over the lamp of her own gift, covering what once shined freely. Yet now, in the hush of early morning, as her lamp glows quietly in the darkness, she hums without thinking. A soft, trembling melody escapes her lips, and she realizes the light was never gone, only waiting for a safe moment to emerge again. The story rests with her for a moment, offering a gentle truth to the heart listening now. The world can wound, words can silence, circumstances can dim what once felt bright, but hidden light is not extinguished light. Covered does not mean gone, and what God placed within a person remains, waiting for compassion, for healing, for courage to uncover it again. Another listener on the hillside comes into view, a man who once tried to help others but was met with ridicule. His kindness was misunderstood, his intentions questioned, and so he withdrew. He learned to keep his generosity quiet, his compassion subtle, his patience hidden. He became a lamp under a bowl, not because he lacked goodness, but because he feared being hurt again. Yet as the teacher's voice drifted across the hillside, he felt a stirring he had not felt in years, a sense that it was safe to shine again, that the world still needed the gentleness he had buried, that the Father who gave him compassion had never asked him to hide it, only to trust that even bruised light is still holy. The story widens gently, inviting the listener tonight to breathe into this truth. There are parts of you that have dimmed, parts you tucked away for safety, parts you hid because shining once cost you something, but none of those parts are lost. They remain, waiting under the surface, like embers beneath ash, ready to glow again when the breath of God moves across them. Take a slow breath, in through the nose, letting the air reach all the quiet spaces beneath the ribs, then exhale, letting the chest soften, letting the tension slide away. Imagine, just for a moment, the bowl lifting, even slightly, from the places where your own light has been hidden, not all at once, not with force, just enough to let a little glow escape, a little warmth return, a little hope rise. The teacher's voice becomes a whisper within the night. He does not ask the weary to shine brightly. He does not expect perfection or confidence or boldness. He simply calls the hidden light by its true name. He calls it good. He calls it needed. He calls it loved, and he invites it to breathe again. Let this truth settle gently into your chest, down through the belly, into your hands, your feet, your quiet places. The parts of you that once shone have not vanished. They wait like small flames sheltered beneath the bowl of caution, and the Father who sees in secret knows how to uncover them with tenderness, in the right moment, in the right way, without rushing you, without demanding you be more than you are tonight. Breathe softly, let the heart loosen, let the soul feel safe enough to imagine uncovering even a little of its hidden glow. For the world does not need a brilliant blaze, just the steady warmth of the light God has always placed within you. The night settles even deeper across the hillside, a warm and velvety darkness, the kind that quiets the mind and brings the softest places of the heart to the surface. Down in the valley, the last lamps flicker gently in their clay bowls, steady little flames holding their ground against the cool breath of evening. And here, in this calm and sacred quiet, the story turns towards something tender and beautiful, the gentle courage of kindness, the kind of light that shines in the smallest, most ordinary moments. Not all light is bold or loud. Not all goodness is dramatic or easily seen. Much of God's brightest work happens quietly, tucked into simple acts of mercy, a hand steadying someone who trembles, a moment of patience when irritation wants to speak, a small decision to listen instead of judge, a tiny kindness shared without expecting anything in return. On the hillside long ago, The teacher understood how easily people overlooked these small moments, how often they dismissed their own compassion as insignificant, and so he spoke to that hidden truth, reminding them that light is not measured in size but in presence, and that kindness, especially the quiet kind, is one of the most powerful lights a human heart can offer. A memory rises gently into the story, from a young girl who lived in the village below. One evening, after a long day of chores, she noticed her little brother sitting alone outside, tears wetting his dusty cheeks. She was tired, her feet sore, her patience thin, but something in her softened. She sat beside him, wrapped her arm around him, and offered him a small piece of bread she had saved from dinner. It was a simple gesture, easily forgotten, something she might not even recall years later. But to him, it was everything, a moment of warmth in the middle of a difficult day, a reminder that he was not alone, a gentle light shining into his small heart. That is the nature of kindness. It rarely feels extraordinary while it is happening. It feels modest, simple, ordinary, yet it carries a quiet power that reaches into places deeper than words. It makes others feel safe, seen, valued. It lifts their gaze when life has pushed it downward. Another memory drifts through the night air, belonging to an older woman who listened to the teacher on that hillside. She remembers a stranger who once passed through her village, weary from travel, with nothing but dust on his clothes and hunger in his eyes. Others avoided him, suspicious of strangers, but she offered him a drink of water and sat with him for a moment. She asked nothing, expected nothing, yet the look in his eyes, the relief, the gratitude, the gentle softening of his face, stayed with her for years. She never knew who he was, or where he went, but she remembered how a simple act, one cup of water, brought light into a life she would never see again. This is the gentle courage the teacher honored, the courage to be kind when no one sees, to give without applause, to care even when tired, to offer warmth in moments that feel small, to choose mercy when judgment would be easier, to be a soft place in a hard world. The story lingers here, speaking softly to the heart listening now. You have already shone this kind of light, perhaps without realizing it, perhaps without remembering the moments yourself, but heaven remembers, the Father remembers, the people who felt comforted, encouraged, steadied. They remember, even if they never spoke it, even if they have long since moved on, the warmth you gave them remains, echoing quietly through their lives. Take a slow breath, letting the ribcage expand gently, then release it in a long, soft exhale. Feel your body sinking deeper into rest. Feel the warmth of your own kindness rising like a low golden flame in the center of your chest. No pressure, no expectation, just awareness. Awareness that the light you've shared, even in small moments, has mattered deeply, more than you know, more than you were ever told, more than your own heart may believe. Kindness is courageous. Kindness is holy. Kindness is light in its purest form, and the Father delights in it, not because it is grand, but because it is real, given freely, quietly, with love that asks for nothing, love that reflects His own heart. Let that truth settle in your breath, your shoulders, the quiet space behind your ribs. You shine most beautifully not when you try to be radiant, but when you offer gentle goodness in the middle of your ordinary moments, moments that become sacred without anyone noticing, except God. Let your breath slow, let the warmth rise, let the night wrap around you like a soft blanket, for the story is leading you deeper into a truth meant to steady your soul, a truth that says your kindness has always been light and always will be. The night has grown still around the hillside, wrapped in a deep, velvety quiet that softens every thought and loosens every hidden tension. The lamps in the valley flicker like distant stars, each one steady, each one offering its own small comfort, and within the hush of this darkness, the story gently widens, Turning toward the quiet ways light flows through hands that help and words that heal. Light is not only what shines from the heart, it is what moves through the body, through gestures, through touch, through presence, through the soft courage of showing up for another soul in their hour of need. And in the deep calm of this night, the teacher's words breathe again, a reminder that the glow of a life is often seen most clearly in its gentlest actions. A memory surfaces through the quiet, belonging to a man who lived in the village below long ago. He was a carpenter, his hands rough from years of shaping wood, smoothing splinters, building tables and doorways for families who needed them. He rarely spoke much, not because he was unkind, but because his voice was soft, his heart tender, and one evening, as he walked home after work, he noticed an elderly woman struggling to lift a water jar. He could have hurried past, tired from the day, ready for the comfort of home, but something within him warmed, a small inner glow. He stepped forward, lifted the jar gently, carried it to her doorway, and offered her a quiet smile. She thanked him with tears in her eyes, because to her, that simple act was not small, it was a lifeline, a kindness that reached into a lonely place within her, reminding her that she was not invisible. Hands that help carry the Father's light, even in tiny moments, even in gestures so quick one barely remembers them. Heaven remembers, the heart that was comforted remembers, and God, who sees in secret, delights in these small flames offered to others. Another memory rises like a soft glow in the darkness, a mother sitting by her young daughter's side after a difficult day. The child's heart was heavy, eyes swollen from tears. Instead of offering correction or haste, the mother simply held her close, rested her hand on the girl's back, and whispered soothing words, not advice, not solutions, just presence, just warmth, just the healing tone of someone who cares. Those gentle words, spoken without rush or pressure, became a lantern inside the child's heart, guiding her through fears she could not name, quieting storms she did not know how to weather, teaching her that comfort is a kind of light, and love is its flame. Words that heal do not need eloquence, they do not need perfection, they need only honesty, kindness, gentleness. Sometimes healing is as simple as saying, "I am here," or "You are not alone," or "It will be okay," or even just a soft, steady presence when words fail. This part of the story rests gently in the truth that many who listened to the teacher long ago had forgotten the power of their own presence. They believed that greatness required extraordinary acts, but the teacher brought them back to simplicity, to the warmth of helping hands, to the softness of healing words, to the sacredness of small kindnesses offered without the need for recognition. The story now shifts toward the heart listening tonight, inviting a tender reflection. Think of the moments when your own hands helped someone, even in simple ways, opening a door, holding a heavy bag, offering support when someone stumbled in spirit or body. Think of how your presence calmed someone, even if you said nothing at all. Your light was shining then, perhaps in ways you did not notice, perhaps in ways someone else has never forgotten. Take a slow breath, letting the air move in gently, cool and calming, then exhale in a long, soft sigh, letting the body sink deeper into the space around you. Feel the quiet warmth rising behind your ribs, the glow of knowing that your kindness, your presence, has carried God's light into places you did not realize. You have spoken healing words without knowing their impact. You have helped with your hands even when tired. You have offered comfort simply by being there. These are not small things. These are holy things. These are lamps lifted high in the rooms of other people's lives. Let the breath slow even further. Let the shoulders soften. Let the heart rest in the truth that God has used your life, gently, consistently, to bring warmth to others, and that the glow you carry is not measured by brilliance, but by love in motion. The night thickens with peace. The valley glows faintly, and the story gathers you closer, ready to reveal how such light brings glory quietly back to the Father who placed it within you. The night around the hillside grows even more still, as though creation itself is holding its breath, allowing the next truth to settle softly into the heart. The village lamps flicker faintly below, little breaths of gold against the deep indigo of the valley, and here, in this expanding quiet, the story turns gently towards something sacred and deeply tender. How light, when it shines in ordinary human lives, quietly returns glory to the Father who is its source. The teacher spoke this truth with gentleness, not as a command, but as an invitation. He wanted those listening to understand that their kindness, their love, their compassion, did more than help others. It revealed something of God's heart to the world, not dramatically, not loudly, but through the soft glow of daily goodness. A memory rises through the stillness, carried in the soft breath of the night. A shepherd who had listened on the hillside walks home after the teacher's words. His day had been long, his body tired, his mind scattered with worries. Yet as he approached the outskirts of the village, he saw an elderly man struggling to gather fallen grain from the ground. His instinct was to keep walking, to head toward rest, but something in him paused, warmed. He knelt beside the man, helped him gather the scattered kernels, lifted the heavy bag back into place. The elderly man looked at him with eyes full of relief, not because the task was great, but because the kindness reminded him that God had not forgotten him. In that quiet act, a truth shimmered like a flame. The shepherd did not preach, did not declare anything. His light simply shone through goodness, and without a word, it reflected the character of the one who had formed him. The elderly man saw the kindness, and his heart whispered gratitude not just toward the shepherd, but toward God himself. For this is how light glorifies the Father. It reveals his nature, his compassion, his gentleness, his care, through the everyday actions of his children. Another memory glows softly in the story. A young mother once offered hospitality to a traveler who came to her door hungry and trembling from the heat of the day. She gave him water, bread, a place to rest his feet. She asked nothing of him, expected nothing, and later, long after he left, she learned that he had been praying desperately for a sign that God still saw him, that God had not abandoned him in his hardship. Her small act of hospitality became that sign. Her kindness became God's answer. Her light became the reflection of divine care in a weary heart. She never knew the impact, but heaven did. This is why the teacher spoke so softly, so lovingly. He wanted them to understand that their light was not about performance, not about impressing others. It was about revealing God's heart through the warmth of their lives, through the way they touched others, through the tenderness in their voices, through the compassion in their choices. Every act of goodness became a quiet echo of God's goodness. Every moment of love became a reflection of his love. The story now speaks gently to the one listening tonight. There have been moments in your life, perhaps forgotten by you, but held tightly in the memory of heaven, where your actions became someone's glimpse of God. A comforting word, a patient silence, a soft smile when someone felt unseen, a helping hand when someone felt overwhelmed, a gentle presence when someone was breaking inside. These were not just kind acts, these were reflections of the Father's heart, lanterns lit in the homes of other people's lives, windows through which someone saw God more clearly, even if they never said it, even if you never realized it, even if the moment lasted only a few seconds. Take a slow breath, let it fill the lungs lightly, then drift out like a warm sigh. Let the body sink deeper into rest. Let the heart soften into this truth. Your goodness has mattered. Your compassion has revealed something divine. Your presence has been a quiet testimony of love, and through you, through the glow of your life, the Father has been gently, faithfully glorified. Inhale again, Feeling warmth gather behind your ribs, exhale slowly, letting your mind settle into the softness of this moment. You do not need perfection to reflect God. You need only to let your small flame shine in whatever way it can. For every quiet act of goodness is a beam of light returning to the one who lit your soul in the first place. The night deepens, yet the story grows brighter, poised now to guide the heart from kindness into revelation, from simple glow into sacred understanding. The night has settled into its deepest stillness, a calm so soft it feels as though the entire hillside is holding a quiet breath, waiting, listening, resting beneath the wide and watchful sky. The lamps in the valley glow faintly now, their light diffused by distance, softened by the thickness of night, and into this sacred quiet, the story turns back toward the heart of the teacher's message, toward the moment his words became not just teaching, but blessing, not just metaphor, but identity, a truth spoken gently into lives that never imagined themselves worthy of such a title. He said, "You are the light of the world." Not someday, not if they achieved more, not if they perfected themselves, not if they finally overcame every flaw. He spoke it over them as they were, dust on their feet, worry in their chests, questions in their eyes. He spoke it into their ordinariness, into their uncertainty, into their quiet longing to matter in a world that often overlooked them. The hillside grew quiet when he said it, as if even the wind paused, letting the words settle into soil and skin and soul. For many who listened, those words felt too big, too holy, too impossible to be true, and yet the way the teacher spoke them, not with pressure, but with tenderness, made something within them soften, made something within them open, made something within them dare to believe that the Father saw more in them than they saw in themselves. A memory rises from that night, small and luminous, like a flame lifting in the darkness. A woman who had spent much of her life feeling invisible, walked home after hearing the teacher's words. Her path wound between olive trees, their silver leaves whispering in the wind. As she reached the small rise overlooking her home, she paused. The lamp in her window glowed faintly. Her home was simple, her life ordinary, yet something in her heart shifted. She realized that if her small lamp could soften the dark for her family, then perhaps the kindness in her life, the compassion she offered instinctively, had been softening the world in ways she never recognized. Perhaps she had been light without knowing it. Perhaps she had been shining all along. And farther down the hillside, a young man who often doubted himself felt a warmth rising beneath his ribs. He remembered times he had offered help, times he had held his anger when hurt, times he had listened to someone who felt alone, and though no one had called those moments special, he understood now that these were the ways he had carried light, not through perfection, but through presence, through quiet goodness, through the simple desire to do what was right. This revelation is where the story settles now, gently, patiently, like a flame brightening behind the heart. Light is not something you create, it is something you already carry, something spoken into your existence by the one who formed you, something breathed into you before your first memory, something that remains, even when dimmed by sorrow or shadow, something that flickers still, even on nights when you feel emptied, something God refuses to let die. The story now, in this midnight quiet, reaches toward the one listening tonight, toward the heart that has doubted its own worth, toward the soul that has forgotten its glow, toward the spirit that feels too tired to shine, and it whispers the same truth the teacher spoke thousands of years ago, softly, steadily, lovingly. You are the light of the world, not because you are flawless, not because you are strong, not because you always feel bright, but because God has placed His light within you, a light that reveals His compassion, His gentleness, His kindness, through every quiet act of love that flows from your life. Take a slow breath. Let it flow into your chest like warm light pooling beneath the ribs. Then exhale, letting the body relax, the mind loosen, the heart open. Imagine now the teacher sitting on that hillside, looking at you with the same tenderness, the same unwavering certainty. Imagine him speaking those words into your life, not as expectation, but as blessing, as identity, as truth, as affirmation of the goodness he sees in you even when you struggle to see it yourself. Let this truth surround you like a soft glow. Let it warm your shoulders, your breath, the quiet rhythms of your heartbeat. You are light. You have always been light, and nothing in your story, nothing, has undone what God has spoken over you. The night rests deeper still, the valley faintly shining, and the story is ready to guide you into the quiet revelation that begins to rise like dawn behind the soul. The night on the hillside has settled into its softest form, a deep, gentle quiet that feels almost like a breath held in tender anticipation. The lamps below glow faintly, each one a fragile shimmer against the vast darkness. And here, in this sacred stillness, the story shifts toward a deeper revelation, a truth whispered not to the proud or the confident, but to the weary, the imperfect, the ones who have felt cracked by life's weight. For the teacher spoke light not just into perfect vessels, but into vessels that were cracked, worn, trembling, and in doing so, he revealed something profound. Sometimes it is through the cracks, through the broken places, through the lines life has carved into the soul, that God's light shines even more beautifully. The image emerges slowly, like dawn rising over distant hills. A potter sits in his workshop, shaping clay with patient hands. He knows every curve, every imperfection, every weakness in the vessel he is forming. When a crack appears, he does not discard the clay. He strengthens it, seals it, builds around it, honors its texture, and when the vessel is finished, he places a light inside it, and the glow that escapes through the thin places, through the once fractured places, becomes something unexpectedly beautiful, a pattern of radiance no flawless vessel could create. This is the quiet truth rising into the heart of the story now, that the cracks in one's life are not the end of their light. They are often the places where light escapes most freely. A memory takes shape, belonging to a man who listened to the teacher that night. He carried deep regret. Years earlier, he had spoken harshly to a dear friend during a moment of anger, and the friendship had fractured. Though time had passed, the regret lingered. He believed this failure had dimmed his worth. He believed it had made him unworthy of being called light. But as he walked home after hearing the teacher's words, he noticed something unexpected. A clay lantern hanging outside a neighbor's door. It was cracked, a thin line running from top to bottom, yet the light within it shone through the crack in a gentle golden beam, casting a beautiful pattern onto the stone path. And in that moment, a truth washed over him. The light was not diminished by the crack, it was revealed by it. He felt his heart soften. He realized that perhaps God could shine through his own broken places too. Another memory unfolds, belonging to a woman whose life had been marked by hardship. Loss had carved deep lines into her heart. Sorrow had thinned her once bright confidence. Yet she loved fiercely. She cared for others in ways she did not even recognize as extraordinary. And one day, as she sat beside her small lamp during a long night of grief, she watched the flame flicker inside the worn clay bowl. The bowl had a chip on one side, a small fracture she had never mended, and through that flaw, a thin beam of light spilled out, casting a warm glow onto the floor. She realized, with tender surprise, that the places she thought disqualified her were the places where compassion flowed most freely. Her grief made her gentle with others. Her losses made her attentive to those who suffered. Her brokenness became a doorway for mercy. This part of the story now speaks gently to the heart listening in the quiet of this night. There are cracks in your story, places where life has pressed too hard, moments that have shaped you more than you wished, times when sorrow left lines where you once felt whole. Yet these are not places of shame. They are places where God's light has already been shining, even when you didn't feel it. Your compassion grew from these places. Your gentleness came from these places. Your ability to understand the pain of others was born here. Your tenderness, your empathy, your mercy, these did not come from perfection. They came from the cracks, the places where you have been softened, deepened, opened. Take a slow breath. Let it fill the chest with warmth. Then exhale, letting any self-judgment melt away. Feel the truth settling like a warm flame in the center of the chest. The cracks in your life have not dimmed your light. They have given it shape, given it depth, given it compassion, given it beauty no flawless life could ever possess. The teacher knew this. He spoke blessing over the imperfect. He reminded them, and now reminds you, that God shines not only despite your cracks, but often through them. Let the breath soften. Let the body relax deeper into rest. Let your soul settle into the quiet knowing that your light is not diminished by what you have endured. It is deepened, it is softened, it is made more beautiful. The hillside grows still once more, preparing the heart for what comes next. The revelation that these cracks, these softened places, become lanterns carried into the valleys of others' lives. The night has deepened into a velvety stillness, a quiet so tender it feels as though the very air is listening, holding the gentle truths that have begun to awaken within the heart. Far below, the houses in the valley glow with faint warmth, each lamp flickering against the wide darkness, and into this sacred quiet, the story turns toward a new image. Lanterns carried into the valleys, lives that bring light into the shadowed places of others. The teacher's words on that hillside were never meant to remain only in memory. They were meant to move, to travel, to be carried by ordinary hands into the ordinary nights of other people's lives, like lanterns descending from the brightness of the hill into the deeper valleys where shadows gather, where hearts ache, where hope feels thin, where someone waits for even a small glimmer of warmth. A memory takes shape, soft and slow, like a lantern being lit in a dark room. A young man who listened to the teacher that evening walks home through a narrow valley path. The darkness is thick, pressing, but he holds a small lamp in his hand, its flame steady despite the cool wind that trails behind him. As he rounds a bend, he sees a figure sitting on a rock, shoulders slumped, head bowed. It is a neighbor he knows, a man who lost his livelihood in a recent storm, and who now sits alone, unsure of what tomorrow will bring. The young man hesitates, shy, uncertain, but something stirs within him, a warmth rising behind his ribs, so he approaches quietly, sets his lantern down beside the man, and sits with him in silence. He says no remarkable words, he offers no perfect solutions, he simply shares his light. The dim glow fills the space between them, casting soft comfort into a night that had felt unbearably heavy. And in that quiet moment, the neighbor's breath softens, his shoulders release, his loneliness eases just a little, because someone came, someone carried light into his valley. This is how God moves through human lives, not always with miracles, not always with thunder, but with lanterns, hearts willing to sit beside another soul in the dark, hearts willing to let their small flame shine where it is most needed. Another memory drifts into the story. A woman living near the hillside hears a knock at her door late in the evening. She opens it to find a younger girl whose family is struggling. The girl tries to speak, but emotion catches in her throat. Without needing explanation, the woman brings her inside. She lights a lamp, wraps a shawl around the girl's shoulders, makes a simple broth, nothing extravagant, nothing notable to the world, but in that small home, the light changes everything. Fear loosens, tears, soften, hope flickers back to life, because someone opened their door, someone brought warmth where coldness had settled, someone became a lantern in the girl's valley. This part of the story speaks gently to the heart listening now. You have been this lantern, perhaps without realizing it. You have sat with someone in their pain. You have offered comfort when your own heart was tired. You have listened when someone else needed to be heard. You have given warmth in moments you thought were insignificant. You have carried light into valleys you didn't even recognize as sacred, yet heaven recognized them. Heaven saw your compassion. Heaven treasured your quiet courage. Take a slow, deep breath. Let it expand through your chest, then drift out slowly. Let your body sink deeper into rest. Let your heart soften into the truth that your presence has mattered. Your willingness to walk into someone else's shadows has been holy work, not grand, not loud, but holy. Imagine now a lantern resting in your hands, its flame steady, warm, gentle. Imagine the people whose lives have been touched by that light. Some you remember, some you have forgotten, some you never realized were watching. Yet each one felt the warmth you carried. Each one walked away with a softened heart. Each one received a small glimmer of hope because of you. Your light has traveled farther than you know. It has walked into valleys you never intended to enter. It has rested beside souls who needed it desperately. It has revealed God's heart through your simple presence. Let the breath settle. Let the mind drift. Let the body grow heavier with peace. For the cracks in your vessel, the tenderness of your spirit, the quiet strength of your kindness, have made you a lantern carried into many dark places, and every step of that journey has been seen, cherished, remembered by God. The night grows even quieter now, ready to guide the story into the deeper truth of how the source of all light remains steady even when your own glow feels small. The night on the hillside has deepened into its most tender quiet, a silence so soft it feels like a gentle hand resting over the heart, calming it, steadying it, inviting it to breathe more slowly, more deeply, more peacefully. The valley below lies in a gentle hush, the last lamps flickering like whispers of gold against the wide darkness, and here, in this stillness, the story turns toward a truth that meets every weary soul. What happens when your own light feels small, when the flame flickers, when strength thins, when you wonder if you have anything left to shine? The teacher knew these moments well. He knew the human heart grows tired. He knew life can press hard. He knew shadows can stretch long across the soul. He knew doubts can wrap around the mind like evening fog, making it difficult to trust one's own glow. And so he spoke not only of shining, but of the source that makes shining possible, the source that never fades, never strains, never weakens, the source that supplies the flame even when your own wick feels thin. A memory rises from the hillside, gentle as moonlight spreading across the land. A young woman who listened to the teacher that evening walked home carrying a lamp with only a little oil left. The flame trembled, tiny, fragile, leaning toward darkness each time the wind shifted. She feared it might go out before she reached her door. But as she walked, something dawned on her slowly. The lamp did not depend on the strength of the vessel. It depended on the oil inside it. And the oil did not come from her own effort. It had been given, provided, poured by another hand before she ever struck the flame. This realization warmed her chest, because she understood, perhaps for the first time, that she was not the maker of her own light. She was the carrier, not the source, the vessel, not the fire, the place where light rested, not the origin of its glow. This truth now settles into the heart of the story, gently, like a warm shawl draped across shoulders growing cold. You're not the fire, you are the lamp, and the one who lights you is steady, faithful, unfailing. when your light feels small, it is not a sign of failure. It is simply a sign that you need more oil, more presence, more rest, more of the divine breath that sustains your glow. Another memory drifts forward, belonging to an older man who had heard the teacher's words with trembling hope. He had been trying so hard to be good, trying so hard to be strong, trying so hard to fix his past mistakes, trying so hard to make his life shine again, but he felt exhausted, as though every attempt only dimmed him further, as though his flame had nearly died out. That night, as he sat alone by his small home, he held his lamp in his hands. The flame flickered unsteadily, and he whispered, not loudly, not confidently, but honestly, "I do not know how to shine anymore." And in the quiet, as if heaven had drawn closer, he felt something like a peace settle into his bones, a realization that light is not created through striving. It is received, sustained by grace, strengthened by the one who tends the flame, the Father who does not demand brilliance, but simply invites the heart to remain open, to receive, to breathe, to rest. This part of the story speaks softly to the heart listening now. There have been seasons when your own light felt small, times when exhaustion thinned your flame, moments when disappointment dimmed your confidence, times when grief drew a shadow across your glow, moments when you did not feel like light at all, moments when you feared your flame might go out completely. But your flame has never depended solely on you. The source of your light has held it steady, even when you felt you were fading. He breathed warmth into your embers. He shielded you when winds rose. He poured unseen oil into your soul when you were too tired to ask. He kept the flame alive when life felt heavy. Take a slow, gentle breath. Let it fill your lungs softly, like warm air rising in a lantern. Then exhale, letting the weight of self-expectation fall away. Let your shoulders loosen. Let your ribs soften. Let your heart relax into the truth that you do not need to create your own light. The one who formed you is the one who fuels you. You shine not because of constant strength, but because of constant love. Imagine now the faintest flame, no bigger than a breath, yet still warm, still alive, still glowing, held cupped in the hands of God, protected, cherished, sustained, waiting for the moment it will rise again. Your smallness is not the end of your light. It is the place where God begins to shine through you more deeply, more purely, more tenderly. The source has never left you. The flame has never died. The glow remains, even here, even tonight. Let the breath soften. Let the night settle around you. Let the heart rest in the quiet, knowing that your light is safe, because it is held by the eternal light who never fades. The night has settled into its deepest hush, a stillness so complete it feels as though the entire hillside is wrapped in a soft, sacred embrace. The lamps below glow faintly in the valley, scattered like warm embers resting in the darkness. And here, in this profound quiet, the story moves toward a gentle revelation. How many small lights, when joined together, become a warmth far greater than anything a single flame could create alone. This is where the teacher's words deepen, where the truth stretches beyond individual hearts, where the glow of a single life becomes part of something far more beautiful, far more powerful, far more comforting than the heart ever imagined. A memory drifts into the story like a soft gold thread weaving through the night. On a chilly evening many years after the teacher spoke on that hillside, a small village gathered in the central courtyard during a season of hardship. Illness had touched homes, fear whispered between neighbors, uncertainty rested on every doorstep. People felt scattered, weary, dim. But on this particular night, someone lit a small lamp in the center of the courtyard. The flame was modest, barely enough to brighten the faces of those nearest to it. Then another family arrived, carrying their own lamp. They placed it beside the first. Then another family came, and another. Soon a circle of lamps formed, each one small, each one flickering, each one held by hands that trembled with both exhaustion and hope. And something beautiful happened. The joined flames rose together, the courtyard filled with warm gold light. Children leaned into their parents, elders smiled through tears. Neighbors who had felt alone for weeks clasped each other's hands, and the darkness that had felt heavy and thick only moments before softened into something gentle, almost tender, because many small lights had become one great glow. This memory rests in the story now, carried gently toward the heart listening tonight. There is a sacred truth here. Your light is not meant to shine alone. Your kindness is part of a larger tapestry. Your presence threads itself into the lives of others. Your compassion joins theirs. Your quiet goodness links with the goodness of countless souls you may never meet. When your flame flickers, someone else's flame stands beside it. When theirs falters, your warmth steadies them. This is the beautiful mystery of being God's light in the world. Not individuals shining in isolation, but hearts gathered like lamps in a courtyard, each one adding its glow, each one creating something bigger, warmer, safer than any could create alone. Another memory rises, softer still. A young girl sits in a darkened room after a long and difficult day, feeling overwhelmed, unseen, small. Her mother notices. Without speaking, she lights a lamp and places it on the table. Then her older brother enters the room and lights another. Then her father joins with a third. None of them say a word. They simply sit near her, their joined lamps filling the room with gentle warmth, and slowly, her breathing steadies. Her shoulders soften. Her heart finds comfort in the glow that surrounds her, not because one lamp was bright, but because many lights made the darkness gentle. This part of the story speaks to you now. Your light has never been meant to carry the world alone. You were never asked to be everything for everyone. You were simply asked to shine as you are, and trust that your glow, joined with the glow of others, creates a radiance the world desperately needs. Think of the people whose light has warmed you, those whose kindness steadied you, those whose presence comforted you, those whose compassion helped you breathe again. Their light mingled with yours, strengthened yours, lifted yours. And the same has been true in ways you may never know. Your light, even when faint, has joined the lights of others. Your kindness has completed someone else's moment of mercy. Your presence has become part of someone else's healing. Your patience has woven into someone else's hope. Your quiet love has added to a glow far beyond what you alone could ever create. Take a slow, gentle breath. Let it fill the chest with warmth. Then release it, letting your body sink deeper into rest. Feel the truth settling in your soul like a warm lamp placed beside you. You are part of a constellation of lights, part of a divine weaving of warmth, part of a larger glow shaped by many hearts, many stories, many small acts of love. And each light, including yours, is essential. Let your breath soften. Let your heart rest in the comfort that you are not alone in shining. Let the night wrap around you like a blanket of many glowing flames, each one gentle, each one steady, each one belonging to a chorus of warmth God has placed throughout the world. The story grows quieter now, ready to guide the heart into a place of deeper stillness, where the night becomes not something to fear, but something held by the one who watches every lamp, large and small. The night over the hillside now feels almost weightless, as though every sound has been softened, every breeze slowed, every edge of the world rounded into gentleness. The valley below lies in a hush so deep it resembles a sleeping sea, dotted with faint, flickering lamps that sway like tiny boats drifting on a calm tide. This is the hour when human noise fades, when thoughts grow quieter, when the soul can hear truths too soft for the brightness of day. And into this profound stillness, the story turns toward a tender and holy image. Night over the city, and God watching every lamp still burning. The teacher had spoken of a city on a hill, a place where every lamp joined to form a glow that could not be hidden. But there is another truth wrapped inside that image, a truth meant for the weary, the uncertain, the ones who wonder if their small light is still seen. The truth that God watches your light, tenderly, attentively, lovingly, even when you are unaware of it, even when you feel faint, even when your flame barely rises above a whisper. A memory unfolds, delicate as silk drifting through the air. A man stands at the edge of his rooftop at night, looking out over the village below. The lamps were many earlier in the evening, bright and lively as families prepared meals and shared stories. But now, most have been extinguished, only a handful remain. Small flames scattered far apart, each one belonging to someone awake, perhaps praying, perhaps grieving, perhaps simply unable to sleep. And as the man watches, he feels a realization rise within him. He may not know who is still awake, who is still hurting, who is still waiting, but God knows. God sees every lamp, every flicker, every glow that refuses to die, every heart that stays open even when darkness presses close. The story rests with this image, letting it bloom within the heart listening now. There were many nights when you felt alone in your struggle, nights when worry tightened in your chest, nights when tears came quietly, nights when fear or sorrow or heaviness sat beside you like an unwelcome guest, nights when you wondered if anyone saw your pain, if anyone noticed how hard you were trying, if anyone understood how low your flame felt. But heaven saw, God watched your lamp. He saw the nights you stayed kind even while exhausted, the nights you held on to hope even when it felt thin, the nights you prayed in whispers, the nights you cared for others despite your own weariness, the nights you breathed through fear, slowly, steadily, refusing to let the darkness take your light. Another memory drifts into the story, belonging to a woman who had lost much. One night, unable to sleep, she sat by her small lamp, staring at its trembling flame. Her grief felt like a heavy cloak, her hope like a fragile thread. But as she sat there, she felt something, not loud, not dramatic, but gentle, a sense that she was not unseen, that her quiet endurance mattered, that her tears were noticed, that her small, steady light was precious to God, more precious, perhaps, than the bright flames of those who never struggled. For there is a tenderness in how God watches over the lamps that burn in the darkest nights. He does not measure their brightness. He cherishes their faithfulness. He sees the courage in a light that refuses to disappear. This part of the story speaks softly to your heart now. Your lamp has been seen, not just in your strength, but in your struggle, not just in your joy, but in your sorrow, not just in your clarity, but in your confusion, not just in your bright moments, but in your dim ones. God has watched every flicker, every moment you stayed kind, every moment you held on, every moment you breathed through pain and continued forward. Take a slow, gentle breath. Let it fill you with warmth. Then exhale, letting your body sink deeper into rest. Feel the truth settling like a blanket around your heart. You have never been invisible to God, not in the brightest hours, not in the darkest nights, not when your flame rose high, not when your light trembled at the edge of going out. He has watched you with love, protected your flame with tenderness, shadowed you with his hand when the winds grew harsh, and tonight, he watches still, not with judgment, but with deep affection, for the light within you is his gift, and he delights in its glow, even when it is small, even when it is fragile, even when it is just beginning to rise again. Let your breath ease, let your mind soften, let your heart rest in the safe, warm knowledge of God's gentle watching. For the night is held in his hands, and so are you. The night has become almost impossibly still, a quiet so deep it feels as though the whole hillside is wrapped in a soft cocoon of peace. The air is cool, unmoving. The kind of silence that welcomes rest without asking for anything in return. Far below, only a few lamps remain glowing in the valley, tiny, steady, faithful, their light barely brushing the darkness around them, and into this tender quiet, the story turns toward a truth meant to comfort the weary heart. The truth that even when you rest, even when you let go, the light within you continues to shine because its source never sleeps. There are seasons when the soul grows tired, not broken, not faithless, simply tired. Times when the responsibilities of the day feel heavy, when the heart carries more than it can name, when thoughts move slowly, when emotions feel tender, raw, stretched thin, when the flame flickers simply because human strength has limits. The teacher knew this as deeply as he knew anything about the human heart. He knew exhaustion is not failure. He knew weariness does not diminish worth. He knew that rest is not a luxury but a sacred necessity, a gift, not a weakness, a place of renewal, not retreat. A memory forms gently in the night, soft as the glow of a lantern behind a curtain. A shepherd lies down after a long day of guiding straying sheep across rocky hills. His legs ache, his shoulders sting from the sun, his mind is fogged with fatigue. His lamp burns low beside him, the flame wavering as though it might disappear at any moment. But he does not worry. He knows the flame has burned through countless nights before. He knows that even when he sleeps, the light will continue, because it does. Not depend on him staying awake, because the oil within the lamp will keep feeding the flame, sustaining it long after his eyes close. This truth settles into the heart of the story. There is a moment each night when you are invited to stop carrying, to stop holding everything together, to stop trying to shine by your own strength, and instead, simply rest, letting God watch the light while you sleep. Another memory flows into the quiet. A mother sits beside her child who has finally fallen asleep after a difficult day. The child's face softens. Tension leaves their tiny shoulders. The lamp beside the bed shines gently over them. The mother watches in silence, her expression full of love and tenderness. She knows the child is unaware of her watchfulness, but her presence protects them. Her eyes guard them. Her care surrounds them even in sleep. And the child rests safely, not because they are strong, but because they are held. This is how the Father watches you, quietly, faithfully, lovingly, especially when you sleep, especially when you let go, especially when you surrender the weight of the day. This part of the story now speaks softly to your heart. You do not need to force your light to shine. You do not need to stay strong every moment. You do not need to remain vigilant through all the night. There is a place for rest, a place for release, a place for letting the body melt into softness and the mind drift into quiet, without guilt, without pressure. For the one who watches over you does not grow tired. He does not slumber. He does not step away from your side. He tends your flame while you rest. He guards your light when your eyes close. He strengthens your spirit even as you dream. Take a long, gentle breath. Let it move into your chest slowly, like a soft tide rising on a moonlit shore. Then exhale, letting your muscles loosen, letting the tension melt down and away. Feel your weight sink into the bedding, into the earth beneath you. Feel the tenderness in this moment, the quiet knowledge that God is watching, not sternly, not distantly, but with the same soft devotion as a mother watching her sleeping child, the same faithful attention as the shepherd trusting his lamp through the night, the same unwavering love the teacher carried for every soul on that hillside. You can rest, you can soften, you can let go, you can breathe without striving. You can sleep knowing your light does not go out simply because you close your eyes. It remains, protected, tended, watched over by the eternal light who never fades. Let your breath slow, let your heart ease, let the knowledge of God's watchful presence wrap around you like a warm blanket. For night is not a threat. Night is a sanctuary, a place God fills with His quietest love. The night has grown into a deep, velvety stillness, a quiet so complete it feels almost sacred, as though the whole hillside is cradled in God's gentle hands. The valley below lies in a soft hush, only a faint scattering of lamps still flickering in the darkness. This is the hour when the heart becomes most tender, most open, most ready to release the burdens it carried through the day. And into this holy quiet, the story moves gently toward a profound moment of surrender, letting go of the day's weight and placing your lamp, your light, your worries, your weariness into God's hands. There comes a time each night when the soul is invited to loosen its grip, to stop holding everything so tightly, to stop carrying responsibilities that feel heavy, to stop replaying conversations or fears or unfinished tasks, to stop believing it must remain strong even in exhaustion, and instead, to lean, to fall, to rest into the one who watches, who protects, who understands every whisper of your heart. A memory from long ago rises softly into the story. A man returning from work carries a small clay lamp up the steps to his home. His hands tremble with fatigue. The day has been long, full of conflict, sweat, and strain. He feels drained, empty, as though he has nothing left to give. When he enters his home, he sets the lamp on the table, and he watches, quietly, as the light steadies on its own. He does not need to hold it anymore. He does not need to guide it with careful steps. The lamp is safe, resting on its stand, held in place, shining without his effort. He breathes, and for the first time that evening, he feels the heaviness begin to slide off his shoulders. This is the invitation woven into this part of the story, to set your lamp down, to stop gripping it with tired hands, to trust that God holds what you cannot, that He carries what you no longer have strength to bear, that He steadies your light even when your body and spirit have reached their limit. Another memory flows gently into view. A woman sits beneath a fig tree at dusk, her shoulders heavy from a day filled with worry. She has tried to be strong, tried to remain hopeful, tried to carry her responsibilities without showing how tired she feels. But as the first stars appear above her, she feels something soften. She closes her eyes, places her lamp beside her on the ground, and whispers the quietest prayer, a prayer not of words, but of release, a prayer of letting go. Her hands open, palms facing upward, as if releasing invisible weights she has held for far too long. And in that small gesture, she feels peace begin to settle, not because her problems vanish, but because she no longer carries them alone. This part of the story now speaks directly to the heart listening tonight. You have carried much today, more than most people know, perhaps more than you have allowed yourself to admit. You have carried expectations, responsibilities, decisions, emotions, worries that curled tightly around your mind, but you were never meant to hold them all forever. There is a time to loosen, a time to release, a time to breathe and let the weight slip from your hands into God's. Take a slow breath, let it drift into the chest, expanding gently, then exhale, letting the muscles soften, letting the tension drain from the shoulders. Imagine placing every worry, every unfinished task, every heavy thought, every fear, every self-criticism into a small clay bowl. See it in your mind. See those burdens gently gathered there, and then imagine handing the bowl to God. Feel His hands, warm, steady, safe, receiving it from you without hesitation. No disappointment, no judgment, only love, only understanding, only a quiet desire to carry what has made you weary. Let your own hands unclench. Let them soften in your lap or against the bed. Let your breath grow slower, warmer, more restful. You do not need to hold everything tonight. You do not need to figure out tomorrow. You do not need to keep the flame alive by effort. The Father holds your light now. He tends it gently, faithfully, while you rest. Feel the weight leaving your chest. Feel the mind loosening. Feel your spirit softening under the grace that covers you like a blanket. This is the sacred place where letting go becomes an act of trust, where the heart surrenders the day not because it failed, but because it is safe to rest, safe to release, safe to let the eternal light carry what your hands can no longer bear. The night deepens with peace. The story folds around you like warm linen, and your lamp, now resting securely in God's hands, glows steadily, gently, without strain. A reminder that even in rest, even in silence, even when you do nothing at all, your light remains, because He holds you. The night has softened into its gentlest form, a deep, velvety quiet wrapping the hillside like a warm shawl drawn lovingly around weary shoulders. The valley below rests in near darkness now, only a few faint lamps still flickering. Their glow small but steady, like whispers of gold in a vast sea of night. This is the hour when breath slows, when thoughts loosen, when the heart begins to drift towards sleep, not with force, but with surrender, a settling into softness, into grace, into peace. And into this tender quiet, the story guides you toward a final truth before rest, a soft glow at the edge of sleep, your life as a quiet offering. There are moments in every life when the world becomes still enough for the soul to see its own light, not as brilliance, not as accomplishment, not as something measured or judged, but as a soft glow, a warmth the Father sees with deep tenderness, a radiance that has shaped more hearts than you know. A memory rises gently into the story, soft, like a lantern being uncovered after a long night. An elderly man sits by the doorway of his house just before dawn. The sky above him is still dark, but the horizon carries a faint wash of silver. He holds a nearly spent lamp beside him, the flame small, wavering, almost ready to rest. He watches it with quiet affection, not sadness, not disappointment, just gratitude, for he knows how many nights this simple lamp has served him, how many hours it has given. Warmth, comfort, gentle light. It never demanded to be bright. It never asked to be admired. It simply shone where he needed it, when he needed it, as best it could. And in that soft, early morning hush, he realizes something tender. His own life has been like this lamp. Not perfect, not grand, but steady in its own way, offering what it could, giving warmth where possible, shining quietly through small acts of faithfulness, and that was enough. This image lingers, flowing gently toward the heart listening now. For your life, too, has been a quiet offering. You may not see all the ways you've warmed the world, the people you steadied, the hearts you softened, the burdens you helped carry, the comfort you gave without knowing, the moments your presence made the night less frightening for someone else. But heaven has seen it all, every small glow, every gentle act, every kindness that slipped by unnoticed, every moment you shone even when tired, even when uncertain, even when your own heart felt fragile. Your light has mattered, more deeply than you know, more widely than you realize, more beautifully than you have ever been told. Another memory drifts into the story, soft as a feather settling on still water. A mother once watched her child fall asleep beside a small lamp. The lamp's flame dimmed slowly, growing softer, warmer, quieter, until it became a faint pulse of gold, a gentle reminder that rest was close. The child's breath slowed, their body warmed by the subtle glow, and the mother thought to herself, "This is enough. This small light, this quiet warmth, is enough to hold the darkness back tonight." And so it is with you. Your glow, gentle, steady, imperfect, warm, has been enough. Enough to bring comfort to others. Enough to steady hearts. Enough to reflect God's tenderness into the world, even in the smallest moments, especially in the smallest moments. This part of the story now invites the heart to ease into the final stages of rest. Take a slow, soft breath. Let it fill your chest like warm light rising behind the ribs. Then exhale, releasing the last pieces of tension. Feel the weight slip away from your shoulders. Let your eyelids grow heavier. Let your thoughts drift like distant lanterns on a quiet river. Tonight, you do not need to be bright. You do not need to try. You do not need to carry. You simply need to be held, be loved, be warmed by the presence of God who cherishes even your faintest glow. Your life, exactly as it is, exactly as you are, is a quiet offering, a small, steady flame in the Father's hands, a light that has touched the world in ways you cannot measure, a glow that continues to warm the hearts it was meant to warm. Let the breath soften again. Let the night surround you. Let the glow within you settle gently at the edge of sleep. For you are safe, you are held, you are loved, and your light rests tonight in the one who knows how to tend it with infinite care. The night has reached its deepest hush, a stillness so complete it feels like the whole hillside has fallen into the gentle hands of God. The valley is almost entirely dark now, only the faintest threads of gold drifting from a few final lamps, and above it all, the sky stretches wide and quiet, a soft blanket of stars watching over the world with calm, ancient tenderness. This is the hour when sleep draws near, when the heart loosens its final grip on the day, when the soul leans fully into the arms of rest, and the story now moves into its peaceful closing, a soft benediction, resting in the one who is the eternal light. There comes a moment at the end of every night, when the lamp has done all it can, when its flame grows small, then smaller still, a warm, trembling whisper of gold, and then, with a gentle sigh, the light sinks into stillness, not extinguished, not lost, but resting in the quiet confidence that dawn will come again. A memory rises into the story, tender as a final breath before sleep. A mother once watched her household settle into slumber, her children curled into the woven blankets, her husband resting with his hand over his chest. The lamp in the corner glowed with a final faint warmth. The last flicker of gold shimmered across the room, and in that moment, she whispered a silent prayer, a prayer of gratitude, a prayer of surrender, a prayer that said simply, "The day has ended, and we rest now in your keeping." And as she laid her head down, she felt no fear, for she knew that while her family slept, the eternal light watched over them, a presence that neither dims nor falters, a love that neither sleeps nor forgets, a God who stays awake so you do not have to. This is the tender truth the story offers you now, a truth meant to cradle your heart as it drifts towards sleep. The light within you rests tonight, not because it is gone, but because it is safe, held in hands that never fail, watched by eyes that never close, guarded by love that never grows weary. Another memory drifts through the quiet, an old shepherd lying beneath the stars, long after his flock has settled, his lamp extinguished for the night, his body heavy with fatigue. He gazes upward at the vast sky, full of soft constellations that shimmer like eternal lamps, and he breathes deeply, knowing that even when every human lamp goes dark, the heavens remain lit, the stars keep their watch, and God, the maker of light, remains awake, tending the night with tender strength. This image settles into your heart now. You are allowed to sleep. You are allowed to rest. You are allowed to stop holding, to stop striving, to stop worrying, to stop trying to shine, for the eternal light continues shining for you, around you, over you, within you, even as your body drifts into stillness. Take a long, slow breath. Let it fill your lungs like soft morning air. Then exhale, letting your body melt deeper into rest. Feel your weight sinking. Feel your shoulders easing. Feel the gentle pull of sleep drawing close, like a warm tide rising to carry you into peace. Your story rests tonight in God's quiet hands. Your worries rest in His care. Your light rests in His keeping, and nothing, not darkness, not tiredness, not fear, can take you from His presence. Let your heart beat slow. Let your thoughts drift like lanterns floating down a still river. Let your breath become soft and steady, for the Father is near, near in the stillness, near in the quiet, near in the softness of your final waking moments, and He whispers over your resting heart, "You are light, you are mine, you are safe, and the night is held in my hands." Sleep now, gently, slowly, peacefully, wrapped in the warmth of divine love, covered by the tenderness of God's unfailing watch, cradled in a peace that will hold you through the whole night, until morning comes and light rises again. Go with part 20 whenever your heart is ready for your next story. But for now, rest, breathe, sleep in peace, for the eternal light is with you.